Right, so we do a very large number of post-burn contractures. Yeah. So we do a large number of post-burn contractures, and our experience, though I have no research work on it, is that the grafts seem to be growing, and the children are growing up with them, and well splintered, I'm not having any problem of a recontracture. So now going on to my talk, the mistakes that I don't want anyone else to do. I was not given a mandate, so I had to think a lot as to what I must speak. So I think in more than 30 years of my work of hand surgery, sometimes people have asked, what mistakes have you made? I think my students who know me know that I'm cautious and maybe I'm overcautious, so it has saved me from many complications, but no one ever does not have a complication. But being in a teaching unit and having grown from being an assistant professor to now being a professor and head for the last 20 years, I've learned not just from my own slips, but also from those of colleagues and trainees. And today I'm going to share with you a few stories. They're not just about errors, but these are also lessons which have stayed with me. So this is a story, and I call it that anatomy is never textbook. Here was an 18-year-old girl, and she came to me, she and her father came for replacement of that depressed scar. My plan was to put an expander. During surgery, I went through the edge of the old skin graft. Now this was a trauma, she didn't have any old papers. I saw a very large tubular structure lying very superficially. I decided that it was a vein, I clamped, tied and cut it. But when I released the tourniquet, the hand did not turn pink. It was basically the brachial artery. Thank God that I was a microsurgeon. I put it all together, and the patient recovered without any complication. I think this is one of the biggest goof-ups that I've ever made in my life. So what did I learn? I knew that in post-traumatic areas and scarred areas, anatomy is never textbook. I knew that things move around and somebody has moved stuff around. So I should have never assumed, and I should have respected the uncertainty. So the takeaway from this story is that always verify. Story 2, a resident's mistake. I call it fatigue and mentorship. And this was a flexor tendon repair in zone 3. Patient kept coming back with pain. He got a full range of motion in that tendon, but the pain never subsided. Finally, we got an X-ray done. This is just a mock-up of the X-ray, but we actually found a hypodermic needle sitting in the hand. Once removed, the pain vanished. So what was it? Well, at that time, I had a resident who was the only resident in a unit which works 24/7, and round the clock, I had not really taken care probably of his exhaustion. So I think sometimes the fault lies with the system and with the teacher who does not notice when a trainee is drowning. So the takeaway from this is that exhaustion does breed error, and if somebody is too exhausted to do a hand surgery, wait for it till the next day. A colleague's mistake, I think the basics matter. I've seen a colleague who operated a claw hand perform a tendon transfer. 3 weeks later, when the plaster was removed, this is what the hand was. There was pressure on the hand. I think this image has stayed with me all my life. Ultimately, this patient needed a flap to cover the defect. The lesson is clear. However much more skilled surgery we may do, I think we should not underestimate the small details. They can make or break your result. And even the best surgery can be undone by neglecting the basics. So what is my takeaway from this? In neuropathic hands, protect what the patient cannot feel. This is a story which I say vigilance beyond the OT. I was once called to the orthopedic ward by my residents who in the beginning did not understand why we had been called. An elderly man was admitted in the orthopedic ward for an upper limb fracture, and the patient had been given compression stockings. Then they said that there was soakage of the stockings and color changes were noticed on the toes. And this is what we saw when the stockings were removed. The stockings had not been removed for 5 days. He would have probably needed a bilateral AK amputation, but before that could be planned, he deteriorated and died. So what did I learn? Sometimes the gravest mistakes are not really surgical at all, but they are failures of vigilance. I think vigilance, teamwork, and basic care can be life-saving. Neglect can be fatal, and very small oversights can cost lives. In fact, his this gentleman's sons, who were themselves middle-aged sons, were taking a lot of good care of this patient, and they had been specifically told that don't remove the compression stockings because they're going to be good for your father. So takeaway, vigilance is needed beyond the OT, and it is as vital as the surgery itself. The fifth one and my last one is a transplant lesson. Never ignore the small clues. And even rare, high-stakes, team-based scenarios, despite with meticulous planning, can sometimes have a problem. So during a bilateral hand transplant, we received both limbs from a young brain-dead donor. But on the left side, we noticed a puncture mark on the ulnar side also. It was only during dissection that we realized this donor had been in the ICU for 3 weeks, and the ICU physicians had cannulated both the arteries. Collaterals had kept this limb viable. So in the chaos of a transplant, never displace a small clue, always check for arterial cannulation, and one overlooked detail can nullify the work of an entire team. So what is my takeaway from this? One missed detail can nullify your entire major surgery. So I know I have shared 5 stories, all of them quite grave. They are our greatest teachers, only if we are willing to share them. So in sharing these stories, I stand here not to recount failures to you, but to pass forward these very small lessons. My take home: mistakes happen when we assume, when we are inattentive, when we forget the basics, when we ignore fatigue, and when we overlook small details. I think if we train ourselves to aim for perfection every single time, to do even the smallest of steps correctly, until it becomes a subconscious habit, then we will seldom go wrong. So I think it is an attitude, a habit that we should be cultivating daily. Thank you.